What you're witnessing is based on fact. Some will find it fascinating. Some may find it frightening. But it is all true. With special thanks to NASA and the Department of Defense for their cooperation in our search for UFOs. It has begun.
I saw it come into the sky from the top of the mountain range and go straight up and do a 90-degree angle toward us, and I called it to the attention of Don, John, and Sue. And they saw it too, and it was there. I was not on dope or alcohol or anything like that. And it started doing really erratic things in the sky. It was a small white light and very easy to see. We were not mistaking anything. It came over to the car, flipped over and went around on the other side toward the other hills and came back, settled above the car. By this time, because it was so close, it was 8 lanes of freeway, at least in diameter and even a little wider, saucer-shaped, a very white, luminescent light emitted from the entirety of it. The ship stayed above us, out in front of us, about a minute or two, and we watched it, and none of us were saying a thing. And we just kept driving, and it kept staying in front of us. And then out of the perimeter of it, closest to us, came 4 white beams of light, very much like funnel-shaped, smaller at the perimeter, and they descended upon us and came around each one of our bodies. And out of each one of our bodies, we started to float into that beam of light. The best description would be molecularly being dispersed. And when I looked over at Don and Sue and John, their bodies, their legs and their bottoms are still on the car seat, and their heads and their shoulders and their chest molecules were going through the roof of the car, along with mine. We didn't lose consciousness while this happened. We were completely conscious of going through the roof. And the bottom molecules of our body were coming through too, and we were about 3.5 or 4 feet outside the car, going toward the ship, and we hit an energy field, a strong one, and remembered nothing. Next thing I did remember, we were coming back, the same process, going back into the car.
It wasn't until several years later that Helen realized she had experienced more than she remembered. Mental images, which she couldn't explain, caused her to visit a specialist who put her through a memory regression. In this relaxed state, Helen recalled the evening in question and described in detail the experience of being taken aboard the UFO.
I came to, and standing in front of me was a very tall man with whitish hair, kind of bronze, beautifully tan type of skin. And he had a long type of robish gown on, and he was looking at me, and very, very friendly. And he said he supposed I'd like to know what we were doing here. And I looked around, and I did want to know. There was a huge room that we were in that had a hallway off in front and a hallway off to the side. And there were round, curved hallways. The room was very light. Iridescent light radiated all over, but you didn't see a light bulb anywhere. In fact, you didn't see hardly anything except for the swivel chairs we were sitting in. And he proceeded to help me up. And then we walked together over to the screen in front of us, across the room, and he showed us some information, pictures, and it was very cordial and very easy to talk with. The man spoke to me in English, but concurrent with everything he said was a great deal of telepathic communication, and it was completely peaceful feeling. It all made sense. He showed us a screen with many images on it that clarified some of the things he was saying. He also said that he'd been around with the other people there for thousands of years, and that they had been picking up people and giving information to people for the use of putting it into this world, into this society, to bring about a lot of better changes. And the interesting thing was that there are some people, he indicated, who we know and read about, who were given information by him. This is what he told me. And there was no fear. That's predominant, I think, in everything. From this large room where we first came on, the man led me down into a couple other rooms. And the one that's very interesting was more or less in the center of this ship, and it was a room full of dials and full of men dressed in more form-fitting clothes, whereas the one who met me had a type of ambassadorial robes on. And these guys had more like turtlenecks and Levi's. They were still white, soft, iridescent, and very comfortable looking, and they were working. There was plenty of dials, and there was lots of screens, types of scopes there, and they were doing things very involved. None of them paid any attention to us. They kept their work. After he had taken me to these rooms, we were walking again down the hall to go back to the car. And while we were walking, I remember telling him, you know, nobody's going to believe me. And he said, he's a really nice doctor, and he goes, it doesn't matter if anybody believes you. And there was a purpose to being told these things. And what I had learned and what John and Sue had learned too had its purpose. And he was very kind and very cordial. You could meet him on the street almost and not even feel anything unusual. And then we came back to the room, and we were put back in the car the same way as we were taken out. And just this tremendous sense of peace, and that there was a lot more going on than we had originally thought.